Good.
And let me know when it's live.
Yeah, I think. Oh, let me. Is it online?
Yeah.
It's setting.
Oh. I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's online.
Nice. Well, hold on, let's start. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the Untitled Gallery show. We are so excited to have all of you guys join us, and just wanted to quickly introduce ourselves. Here in this group, we have Untitled Gallery artists. So I'm Ina, and you guys can introduce yourselves too.
I'm Momo.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Andrew Nelson.
Laura LaFave.
Joe LeBay.
Julia, Andre.
David, Andres.
Barbara Penn.
I lost my Zoom.
Zeb. Us.
Well, again, thank you all for joining us. So we at Untitled decided to organize, oh, sorry, I have a siren going by. So we at Untitled decided to organize this community show and try to bring many Tucson artists together in one space. And I think we really have succeeded in doing so. We have 89 artists who have participated in this exhibit, and that means like over 200 works of art. And all of those works of art, well, most of them are available on our website for your viewing pleasure, but also for your purchasing pleasure, so you can take them home. So this has been a very overwhelming experience for us, and we're just so grateful for such participation. So Momo, do you want to show us the website?
Okay.
So if you guys go to untitledgallerytucson.com, it will take you to the show.
Oh, the winner. You can see the winners.
Uh-oh. I think it's okay. So if you scroll down a little bit. So since we had so many entries, we decided to make it a little bit easier on you guys and categorize them. So as you can see, almost 100 entries of painting. And there's just so many works ranging in different styles and mediums and subject matter. It's really been amazing to receive so many works and to see what you guys are all doing.
We were also really excited to see the different ways that the artists interpreted our theme. Our theme was pretty open, but the ideas of resilience, resistance, and respite, people just reacted to those themes in so many amazing ways. It's exciting.
Yeah, there's some fantastic entries.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hanging this and seeing them all in person. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So originally the thought was to bring many artists together in this online platform on the website. But after seeing so many wonderful works, we thought it would be just a shame not to display them at the gallery as well. And so select artists would be invited with some of their works to bring in their work to the gallery. And so there will be an actual physical show of this exhibit in the gallery starting October 3rd. So there will be more announcements coming from us a little down the road. shall we get to it? We have our guest awards judge for the show. We have invited David Andres to help us select. Well, I guess to help us select the best of the best. And David, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you come up with these categories and how did you make your picks?
Sure, I'd be glad to. As most of you know, I direct the Bernal Gallery at West Campus, Pima West Campus. I also teach printmaking, and I also teach a gallery museum studies class and practical class, actually learning how to install exhibits. Everything is hybrid this semester, so it's quite or virtual. So it's quite an interesting transition, I guess, during the pandemic. I'm also a painter and printmaker. So this afternoon, I spent the entire afternoon in the studio, which was a nice thing that has happened during the pandemic. I've been able to get to the studio frequently, which is real rewarding to me. What else can I say? Choosing the artist was really a fun thing to do. I've done this before, but never for a more or less a virtual exhibit. And I'm constantly looking at artists' work. And I know some of the artists that were chosen, but some of the artists I don't. So it was really nice to see so many entries and have it be hopefully a rewarding experience for Untitled, especially since you're a new gallery in the community. And since we just lost one of our leading galleries, the Davis Dominguez Gallery, it's nice to see that you guys are stepping up and trying to fill sort of a void that I think we've all will be missing with the demise of the Davis Dominguez Gallery in that area. I hear you're going to have a lot of construction going on in that area with the widening of 6th. So that should be an interesting experience as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Good
We're
luck
a bit
with
terrified. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's supposed to be beautiful after, I've seen some drawings and it's supposed to be quite beautiful after
Right.
it's sort of an urban landscape situation. Yeah, so thank you for inviting me to do this. I've done, like I said, I've done this around the state. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Laura LaFay, who's on the Zoom meeting too, she and I both worked for the Arizona Commission on the Arts and did artists and residencies around the state of Arizona. So we became familiar with quite a few artists, not just within Tucson, but outside in the state.
And
so
early dinnerware.
Yeah, and we also, we were also, and Joe too, was involved with dinnerware in the downtown area. So that's sort of my past with community support. I do a lot with the Tucson Museum of Art and the Contemporary Art Society. So, there's a lot of community outreaching and networking that makes, I think, galleries work within the community and things. I'm really sorry that I really applaud you guys actually, because you're doing something virtual as well as doing something physical. And with the artwork that you've brought together, the Bernal Gallery is totally virtual this semester anyway. And although I do have an outlet at the Tucson International Airport, but it's a small sampling of artwork and things. So it's we're trying to make things work,
Right.
during the pandemic, and this is a good example of it, trying to make things work. Yeah. So how would you like to proceed?
Well, so you can start introducing by like the first the first winner, and then Momo hopefully will be able to pull up his work, and so
Okay.
we can see it big on the screen. I'm not sure, Momo, if you'll need to like spotlight or do anything like that, but so
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
So my whole thing with doing the awards, I tried to divide them up with awards that I think you guys named it as best of show, and because there were 3 titles with this exhibit, I tried to give something that I thought designated a reference to those 3 titles. Julia and I, my wife Julia, we both are artists, so we both looked at them together. Sort of fun to doing a collaborative little adventure with us as well. And of course, I know some of the artists, but a lot of the artists I didn't. So, and that was really nice to see fresh faces and fresh work.
And also, when we gave you the artwork, none of the artist names were on the artwork, so it was.
That's correct.
So it was still a blind jury. So we
Yeah.
just wanted to note that.
Yeah, yeah.
Good call, Anna.
All I had to do was look at the titles, and of course I knew some of the
Right.
images, but a lot of them I didn't. So Lee, you get the Resilience Award for your illustration of the sort of the pandemic, and you even titled it The Resilience, which I thought was pretty good. It's sort of a nice representation and illustration of what's going on. I don't know, can you explain something about it?
Yeah, sure. You know, we're all going through this together. It's a very strange time in our country and in the world, and that's really what came about in my mind, is the strangeness, the abnormalcy of what we're going through, and the hope, you know, the resilience of people is amazing. You know, the typhoid epidemic in the early 20th century, it was very similar because people had to do social distancing, they had masks, but we all came through it, they came through it, that generation came through it, and they rebounded, and they built the civilization that we're living in today. Technology, the buildings, everything came about after that pandemic. And now we're going through the same kind of thing. It's a pandemic. It's changing the world, I think. It's changing the way we relate to one another. And I think the end result will be something we can't quite comprehend at this time. But I think the change will be very, very strong and very large. And that change and that walking or working toward the change coming out of the pandemic, coming out of the seriousness of this whole situation, which is so abnormal, and going toward a brighter future. That's what I had in mind when I depicted this image.
Great. One of the things that struck me, I was like trying to figure out, I know it's layering within Photoshop and things, but where did you come up with your images?
Where did I come up with what?
The images that you put in.
Most of the images in this I found on the internet. Various images, several different images. I've changed a lot of them in order to make them available. And I overlaid this quite a bit. Actually, some of the images I used in an earlier piece was a very different image, but some of the background in this with the tall ceiling and the buildings are coming up around the side, those images are things that I've used before. And then I've just redone them and added the images of the patient and the people wearing the masks, and the bridge. There's a bridge here that he's walking on toward the better future. The photographs, I took several photographs, and they were of glass pieces that I had in the house or that I found. And I was working on the idea of a glass tower, of glass towers. And that's where the image of the glass shapes come that he's walking toward at this time.
Good to know. So your award, by the way, is, and I think Ina and Jesse must have chosen this because it fits perfectly, I think, with, it's a $65 gift to photographic work so that you can actually put your image on a metal backing. So it's perfect for digital photography.
Oh, that's great. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I feel
Yeah.
very honored. And I've had many images done at Photographic Works. They're a terrific company, and they do great work. They do great work.
Good.
Would like to say one more thing. I don't know if people can see. I've been working on a book while we were in this social distancing and mask wearing, and the book is called The Trump Chronicles. It's kind of a satire, and I just put it out. It can be bought on lulu.com. It's filled with 14 images and 12 short stories. And it's about this time, what we're going through as a whole world.
Hey, Momo, do you mind switching over to Lee again?
Oh, they want to switch
I don't know
over?
if he was Ooh!
Switch this?
Oh,
Switch? Or did they say they're switching to somebody else?
Really?
oh,
Yeah, so we can see what you're talking about. Maybe spotlight it so we can see it.
Can you open the drawing?
there it is.
Oh, okay.
Get more light on it.
Can you make it big, Momo?
What's that?
You had it there for a second. There it is.
This is, anyhow, this is the book. There's several images in the book. They're all done in Photoshop and photography. And there's several stories in the book. Here's an image that's, it's a satire. President Trump, I think he's done a terrible job. And that's kind
Oh, what's wrong with President Trump?
of one of his solutions.
Yeah.
If you can see this. It's
Gotta change. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's
Yeah,
true.
thank you for
That's
sharing
That's
that.
great.
you.
Yeah, and congratulations. So hopeful. Oh, and another thing, all winners that David has selected will also be invited to show their work in flesh at Untitled Gallery in October. So that's an extra perk of being a winner. So yay! So maybe you can print it out on a metal print and bring it over to the gallery.
It'll look great.
Yeah. All right. And our next winner is.
It looks like it's Barbara Penn
Woo.
with Resistance. I don't know. Yeah, I hadn't seen this image. I really liked the way you combined the Me Too movement and put in with it looks like a transfer print. Is that correct, Barbara?
Yes, it's all transfer. It's all transfer, but in sections.
So how large is it?
Oh, that's a good question. It's about 25 inches by 19 inches.
Wow. Is this one that you showed up at the at Smoka?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't. I don't think I've shown this piece.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so it's nice to see that you're doing something with. You've always done things political, but having a political movement that things that are going on concurrently is nice to see in your work.
Yeah, I've used this image before, back when I was doing some work about Emily Dickinson. So I can't recall where I got the image, but it's in this piece, it's, you know, representing the struggle for women's rights over the many, many years of looking for equality. And I was following the Brett Kavanaugh trial at the time in 2018. And a lot came up in the New York Times about the jury or the judge, the judgeship, etc. So I got these images of these tiny little, mostly men, that were representing how many judges there were. And I just played with that image and duplicated it. And of course, it was easy to make the #MeToo emblem. But it really was inspired by this idea that Kavanaugh was being called on for his assault of Christine Blasey Ford. And so around that same time, the #MeToo came up on social media, and it became a kind of icon for any woman that had experienced some kind of physical assault or some kind of assault, mostly by men, obviously. And so that idea resonated in this piece for me. And what else? I tried to sort of erase some of the Me Too and add it back in and kind of infiltrate it into it, to showing kind of this push back and forth between standing up and not being able to stand up. And also within the emblems of the judges, very few are women judges. You could almost see the difference if you look very closely. There's a few women in there, but mostly the icon was representing the number of male judges. So it had a lot going on in my mind anyway, when I was making it. And go ahead.
Sorry, all of the women in the images of the judges,
Mm-hmm.
is all the women have been, what's the word? Like faded, right? Are all the faded images women judges, or are some of them men as well?
No, they're not.
Or
Most
is
of that it just came from whatever image I was copying, pressing into. So
Okay.
I can't say which is which, but like Ruth Bader Ginsburg is in there. Just the more contemporary female judges are in there, but primarily it's the male judges are getting the weight here. So that was what was coming forward. And I did this piece in sections because at the time I wasn't using a press, and I was only using 8.5 by 11 or whatever the size is of a transparency. So I basically figured out how it was going to look, but it was step by step, kind of collaging as I went, adding images to the center left image of the woman. So kind of experimental, and lifting it using hand sanitizer, actually, ironically hand sanitizer, that you can't get anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a great printmaking device because it can lift images off of transparencies. And that's how I was able to lift these images and then rub them down and have them adhere to the fabric they're on. So
is it on fabric or on paper?
well, I always use Pellon, which is a fabric. It's kind of a polyester fabric that takes these images pretty well.
Sorry, can you explain again about the, like, you know, I don't know a lot about printmaking, and I've heard of transfer prints, but are you able to explain sort of how what kind of ink and how, like, that process, how you actually get the image and transfer it? I know you mentioned a little bit of it a second ago, but
I
don't know how much time you have. But
I just use my laser printer. So I would just find an image, any image that I either make or borrow or combine, and you can set that up to print out on a transparency. And then I usually prepare the surface first that I'm going to put on with some kind of paint, and then I can actually take that transparency and put a thin piece of this fabric on top of it and rub it, and it pulls off. So those are being pulled off by the hand sanitizer. And also, then I hang them up, like, you know, cover the walls with whatever I've printed, and then I decide how I'm going to cut them up and how I'm going to put them together. And then those images are transferred onto that final piece of fabric. So it's kind of a double, there's more than one layer of fabric on this piece. If that explains it, I'm not sure. I was really just experimenting, and I really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. And but because I wasn't,
where all the good stuff comes from.
Yeah, I wasn't using a press, and I was trying to figure out how I could do these large pieces and not use a press. And that was what I came up with.
That's great.
So Barbara, you're getting an award of $50 from the Arizona Art Supply. So congratulations! Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you both for the thinking of me in this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought it was very appropriate for the type of the resistance.
Yes.
Award. I thought that's why it really fit. I thought the title. Anyway. Thank you. You're welcome. Well, thank Jesse and Ina, and they're the ones that came up with. And the next one is Respite, and it was interesting because Robert Coney had shown me some of these images in the past, and I think this one was chosen, and Robert can tell us more, but as a illustration for a magazine or something, wasn't it? I thought it was pretty interesting because of how complicated it is, but it also has a sense of calmness to it, to me anyway. Might not to everyone, but can you explain it, Robert?
I can. It is a piece of work that has been digitally produced. It was produced using Adobe Illustrator on Macintosh, and the image is the physical in the real image is 32, I figured 33 inches long, and then I've forgotten 12 or 14 inches high, perhaps. So that gives you an idea of the size of the thing. And it's called Urban Field because I was interested in the experience of walking through some land, a field that had been previously abused, used as a dump. And things were abandoned. And then but that was long enough ago that nature had began overgrowing the abuse that the land had undergone. So what I was experiencing was, you know, flowers beginning to blossom over abandoned car tires and so on and so forth. And I got interested in this idea of nature, this sort of battle for land use between man and nature, and this ability of nature to sort of overcome or overgrow the abuse that we have heaped on some poor tracts of land. So that seemed to be of interest enough to me that I proceeded to produce a variety of images dedicated to my experience of walking through the field and paying attention to the battle that was going on, and nature seeming to win. So I produced a variety of images digitally, and I did not draw every single bit of this for this idea. All these drawings existed in my, I draw things on computer when some object, some item becomes interesting to me. I draw it, and then I just throw it into a bank of drawings that I store on my computer. And then when I have an idea that seems worthy of pursuing, I go through this bank of images and start culling out things that I think would be useful for bringing together to help me work out an idea. So these things were, some of these images in the some of the pieces in this image were drawn 20 years ago, and some were drawn 5 years ago, and so they really, kind of like a collage artist, I go running through my bank of images to see what I think would be useful for an idea that I'm currently working on, and then it becomes an effort of collaging those things together in a way that I deem appropriate to sort of express my my interest in my theme.
So do you actually create those images by hand, or do you draw them digitally?
I do. They're all rather laboriously drawn over the years and thrown into the bank of images.
Okay.
And the nice thing about having a bank of drawings available is that, you know, as you reference them and you go back and say, oh, I remember this or that, and you begin to throw them together, they, of course, every time you're busy working, you're also busy generating new ideas for new pieces of work. So, you know, revisiting all the old drawings and reapplying them in different ways, this seems to be a springboard for wanting to draw more images. So that's a way that I like to work. So people have asked me in the past, oh, how long did it take you to make that? And I said, well,
we lost it.
Really, I can't tell you because a long time ago, and part of it wasn't. So,
good. Well, thanks, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
So your gift is a $50 from Posner's.
Well, I'll be delighted to go there and buy $50 worth of their stuff, and I'll thank them very much for awarding that gift, and I very much appreciate it.
So let's go to the honorable mentions, and I do not know Andrew Lincoln Nelson. Is he on? There he is. Yeah, looks like you're outside. Are you outside?
Andrew, you're muted.
There we go. I'm not actually outside. It's a background.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, it is outside, but I took the picture earlier.
Yeah.
So does that mean you got a blue screen there?
Yeah, well, I don't have a green screen, but it seems to work anyway. I think most of your Zooms will do it also. Without
okay.
They might not. It just sort of depends, but this one's working.
Yeah.
Well, you can do it too.
It's too much for me right now.
Right? Maybe not now, but eventually we'll get there.
Another day.
Well, Andrew, I thought your drawing, sort of illustrations, scientific, sort of surreal images was really captivating. I've seen a couple of them before, and I'm not sure where, though. And I thought they were really well done. I used to teach drawing, and it's really nice to see someone carrying on the technique of rendering so well. Can you explain your title and what it's about?
So the title, it's osteorhizophore. So that sort of translates to bone mangrove, okay? So rhizophores are a kind of plant, the sea saltwater plant, and then osteo is for bone. So it's sort of, it could sort of be thought of as a plant skeleton. It's living in the water, but it's not necessarily dead. It could be alive, or it's maybe ambiguous, but one way or another, it's enduring. It's able to resist the water and the air. Its origin isn't necessarily clear, but it's the only thing there. So in some sense, it's withstood whatever has happened before. So it's somewhat, it's also somewhat surrealistic, and some of the kind of the motivation for doing it is not, it's not as overt as some pieces. So it is the only thing there, and that raises the question, what happens to everything else? And so it has I've tried to incorporate a kind of austere feeling into the image. There is something there, but also there's a lot of nothing there too, if that makes sense.
It sort of seemed like something was emerging and growing out of the body of water, which I found sort of intriguing, with the image itself. Are you an illustrator? Are you, what's your background?
So my background is mixed. Originally, I was an academic, and I did engineering and computer science research.
Oh.
But in the last 20 years or so, I've been mostly an artist and an educator, doing sort of STEAM or STEM type education, math, science, with some art thrown in. And in the last maybe 5 years, I've really taken a step toward just fine art. So I'm working on these rendering techniques for creating these images. I've also kind of stepped away from technology almost in a Luddite way, even though I used to do work with computers and robots. These images are created almost entirely using analog techniques. So I mix all kinds of techniques together, combinations of projections and perspective constructions, just some freehand copying of, there's some photographic elements I use as models. I don't directly copy them. And, but there's a lot of calculation involved. Some of this requires some math, and lately I've been using slide rules to do the calculations rather than a digital computer, which sounds a little crazy, and it may be. I'm not sure exactly what my motivation there is, but I'm trying to step away from digital completely and see if I can still create a compelling image.
You've certainly achieved that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
What are the dimensions of it?
This one is 18 by 24 for the full image. Yeah.
And it's all like graphite pencil.
It's all graphite. Yeah, all graphite. I do use I use erasers a lot too in the process.
Right. You use them in the clouds?
Yeah, in the clouds especially. And also I go back and highlights, I accentuate the highlights with these very fine engineering erasers that they use for engineering drawing.
Engineering erasers.
Yes.
That's something
Can you get
new.
them from an art shop, or do you have to go to an engineering
shop?
You can sometimes. Poisoners has them sometimes, not always. I think they may have them, and there's another store that carries them.
Right.
And you can order them online, of course.
So Andrew, your award is a $40 gift certificate to Arizona Art Supply.
Oh, thank you.
Hopefully they have those engineering erasers.
Yeah.
Or else make a deal with Robert, right?
That's right.
Yeah, they might be able to order them, you know, if not, you know, they're pretty good. They're the largest supplier in the state of Arizona, so they should be able to get lots of things for you.
I find it very hard to get a good eraser.
It's pretty hard, yeah.
I've got like thousands of erasers, and they're all terrible.
Oh, yeah.
You just need an engineering one.
Yeah.
That's right.
So someone else that I don't know is Eric Cox, and he gets an honorable mention for resistance. And I don't know.
Can we see his work? He was not able to join us, unfortunately. But he is, we're Facebook friends, and I see he's very prolific, and a lot of his art is political and quite a social documentary. So
Yeah.
this is the piece that David has chosen.
Idiotic. Idiotic. I love it.
It's brilliant.
His other two drawings were nice as well. I thought, yeah.
It's good stuff. A
Mm.
little spooky.
Little scary. But,
Yeah, a little spooky, but not far from reality.
a little bizarre, but I liked them a lot. I thought they were pretty interesting as drawing techniques with the use of, it looks like almost like collage and color, you know, paint on top as well, colored pencil or something.
Right.
Well,
we will,
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
He gets a $50 certificate from Fred Soto, who does framing and stretching of canvases and art shipping and things. I use him frequently out at the Bernal Gallery. Fred's an incredible guy. He used to work for Sarnoff's.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eric was the only person who I knew for sure uses large canvases. I've seen his large work on canvas. I'm like, he will definitely use this. So it's perfect.
So do you know how large this piece is?
Oh, it's we have the dimensions on the website, on Untitled Gallery, Tucson.com, but not on here. But I can look it up.
That's okay. I just was curious about it. You know, the scale of it. I didn't know if they were really small or big paintings, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've seen, like, the first time I met him, he was doing really large work. And I know that, like, recently he's been kind of going smaller, but he's been producing so much. So he's been really putting out a lot of work. And I know it is a little smaller than at least how I got introduced to him in the first place.
My baby's crying. I've just got to go and check. I'll be back in a second.
So the last award is for Respite, and it's for Transfixed by Laura Lefebvre in collaboration with Joe Labate. Sorry, and it's a double image. I thought it was sort of interesting to see the collaboration together.
We're gonna pull it up in a second.
Good. All right. Good. There we go. So you guys want to talk about this work. I thought it had sort of a, like a, I don't know, like magnified look with Joe's, and then a human-oriented form of Laura's. I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna start. Well, you're right, David. So, yeah, Joe's piece is more of a earth type piece, but and then mine is a reaction to some extent, not just a reaction, but looking at it from a distance, and then kind of adding an element that is more human and humanistic and more kind of this compassion with his piece. It seems like I think of his piece as more of a world view, the earth almost, and mine kind of a very focused, internalized view of what's going on inside that. So usually because of the paper he has to print first, because he can't, I have to gesso, it's photo paper, I have to gesso it, and he can't put gesso paper through the printer. So I work on it after he does it, then I get to do whatever I want. So I have the last word.
First and last.
Yeah, that it's a nice combination, I think. I was curious, is Joe, is this, I almost thought at first when I glanced at it that it was like of the sun, of solar bursts or something. What is the actual subject matter?
It's just the concrete on our patio.
Okay.
I thought it was a cookie.
I make stacks and stacks of photographs on half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cotton rag paper, and then I deliver those to Laura, like literally big stacks of them, and then she goes through them and pulls out what catches her attention and responds somehow with the hers is all graphite drawing on gessoed paper. So I just make lots of photographs and say, here, Laura, make them into art. So.
And I get to pick which ones I want to make into art.
Well, that's what collaboration is, right?
And there's more collaboration involved beyond the making of the actual pieces. I show her, matter of fact, she looked through a stack of my photographs today. I'm always looking at her drawings. So we're always kind of critiquing each other's work outside of coming up with a diptych like this or something. So it's collaborative at many levels. And we eat at the same dinner table. And so.
More collaboration than normal, I guess, with artists. The thing that struck me is that I thought the Respite, the figure of Laura's was very calming and introspect, and I thought that was sort of a nice, it fit the title for me of what I was asked to jury. Going through these, it struck me that I sort of chose more drawing and more digital imagery than prints. There were quite a few prints involved. But I didn't think the printers that entered them really were talking about the title of the exhibition. And so I really tried to gear my choices towards the title of the exhibition. And, it's all volunteerism, and it's all a gift, I hope, and insight into seeing other people's work. It's great to see familiar work as well. Although I don't think I'd ever seen this one of yours, Laura and Joe.
No, we haven't shown it before.
That's all right. That's
So, and I guess I just want to add that we received some comments on Facebook. Some artists said like, oh, we didn't think it was a political show, or it had to be somewhat like related to the title. So we basically gave the artist free reign to submit whatever they felt was appropriate. And then we also gave David free reign to kind of come up with the categories. So we offered quite broad and generic ideas. And then David came up with this pretty brilliant idea to go off the title and select artists that way.
And can I just say, it would have been so difficult to choose. Like I was, we were at one stage, we were trying to work out which ones we liked the best. And it was just like one after another. It was like there was just so much great work in there for so many different reasons to try to sort of say, this is the best one. Like pretty impossible task.
Yeah, and there are a lot of artists involved. So it was, a lot of them were obviously newer, younger artists than the group that was chosen. But it was nice to see a lot of new work, like I mentioned before. It's just that I was like trying to be real specific about what I thought the title meant, and my interpretation of that. And thank you guys for inviting me to be a part of this. And good luck with your gallery as well. Maybe you found some new, members.
We're working on it. It's definitely been a difficult time right now, right?
Yeah. It's difficult everywhere with the arts. So.
But I just wanted to. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to add. It's been. Well, maybe I should only speak for myself, but it's definitely been a struggle this summer between COVID and the heat. It's easy to feel pretty discouraged, and I just feel really sort of honored and inspired and encouraged by the response to the show. It's really given me a boost, so I appreciate it.
You have mail.
That's great.
Awesome. And I just wanted to add that all of this work, again, it's all up on our website, untitledgallerytucson.com. So if you go on there and click on the AARRR, the title was so long, so we had to abbreviate it. So all of these 200 works are on there, and the virtual show will be up through October 31st. And you can also purchase the works online. And as of October 3rd, some of these works, of course, including our 6 winners, will be invited to Untitled Gallery, and we'll hang an actual physical show, and we really hope people come and see it in person. We will have air flowing and sanitizer flowing, so we can easily do a very nice socially distanced visit. So we will put out more information as we go. And Momo brought up our information on the screen. Here we are. And so we really appreciate everybody joining us. And David, thank you so much for taking the time. And
thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it's nice to see familiar faces as well. We've been pretty isolated
wow,
here.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Very isolated.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
also
for
wanted
inviting
to
me.
say a big thank. Oh,
That
wanted to
was
say one more
really-
thank you to Momo. She's our newest member, and she's done
Yeah.
such an amazing job with the website and putting. I mean, that was a lot of work to put 200
thanks,
plus
Momo.
works up. So she did amazing, and thank you so much for joining us. And
This was really interesting to do this. I did it so I would learn how
you guys are going to deal with what's going on in the world and the art world now. It's all going to have to be this way for a while. So that was a good experience.
Good. Hopefully not for too long. We really miss everybody, and we miss the openings, and it's been a bit tough emotionally.
We really want to figure out a way to manage having full-blown receptions. Seems a little unsafe or unrealistic right now, but just like Ian has said, we have a nice high ceiling, we have great airflow, we're wearing masks, so we're really hoping we can have a little bit of in-person art as well.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone.
All right.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks for watching, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.